Why does it happen to me so frequently? What did I do to so deeply offend the fates? I winced as I looked down at my Mary Jane smeared with vomit. Gross indeed. What a waste of my brand new shoes. Kay, let's get you home quickly. My closest friend was raised by me and I encircled her. She had a stale beer and vomit odor. Sour breath. I should leave her here, I sarcastically reasoned. I hadn't even wanted to attend the pointless party in the first place. It was just another of their attempts to draw me in, but I had no interest in partaking in such silliness.
Just take a look at what it got me tonight. Jeff hit on me yet again, which was awful, and then my shoes got destroyed. Just incorrect. Kay stumbled as she concentrated on putting one foot in front of the other. Sorry, I asked. Where's your car? I questioned as I looked over the vehicles parked too closely to one another on the lake's edge. Jess, I moaned to myself. Perfect. I had earlier witnessed Kay's sister arguing with her loser boyfriend, but I was unaware that she had already left in Kay's car. I tried to call her on my cell phone, but I wasn't surprised when it went to voicemail. Just wonderful. I couldn't even call Kay's guy, after all. He had been forced into a family night by his parents.
In the sea of bodies, I looked for someone who would lend me their car. As they danced around the mummy of the headless horseman they had constructed, his pumpkin head blazing, to herald in the month of October and the tradition of Samhain, teens' boisterous laughter filled the air. To celebrate our most important festival, bonfires lined the shore. It was difficult to see anyone due to the smoke from the bonfires. Jeff waved as soon as he saw me. Neighbor boy would believe I owed him, so I couldn't ask him. Oh no, not at all. He was one of my closest friends, yet he was deeply in love with me. For him, lending me his Jeep would be the equivalent of a date. Not going to occur. Nobody appeared to me. Nobody else that I knew well enough to ask was in sight.
We appear to be walking. Thank the fates that she lived close by. The girl was partly unconscious as I carried her away from the lake and into New Salem's outskirts. I couldn't believe I had to drag her inebriated ass home. She owed me a great deal. Despite the darkness, I understood how to navigate the woods. I had grown up in them long enough to be able to navigate them while wearing blinders. But Kay made it more challenging. Every several minutes I had to stop so that she could vomit. I was actually prepared to leave her by the time we arrived at Gallows Lane, the first home on our block. She moaned and threw herself forward, pulling me along with her. I reflected as I fell that now I could add scraped knees to my list of things that had gone wrong tonight. Before I could touch the ground, fingers encircled my arm and pulled me back. Kay stumbled and hit her head.
I turned around to thank you, but the words wouldn't come out of my mouth. I kept looking up. Hair that was the color of dark, rich chocolate was highlighted by the street lamp's light. A face with powerful features and precise angles was well framed by it as it reached almost to his shoulders. My initial impression was of sculpted perfection. I was being attentively watched by a pair of gray eyes that made me think of the post-rain fog drifting over the mountains. He was extraordinarily lovely, and that was all I could think about. "Are you all right?" he inquired. His voice was gravelly and deep. I enjoyed it. I didn't believe my own voice, so I nodded. I was totally ogling. He sighed and then turned to face Kay. He turned to face me after taking her into his arms. She was asked, "Where does she live?" I was relieved that my voice didn't break as I assured him. Just up the lane, while admiring the way his biceps rippled beneath the t-shirt as he adjusted his grip on Kay. "Thanks."
He gave me the go-ahead with a nod and a move. I introduced myself to him. "I'm Cassie Jane Bishop," while we were walking. I should not have given him my entire name, CJ. We learned early on not to reveal our complete identities to strangers. It was the absolute taboo to us. So be it. It's not like I actually believed that stuff. He muttered, "Ethan Warren," and accelerated his stride. So perhaps he didn't want to speak with me. He could perhaps simply be eager to leave the alcohol and dried vomit odor. I was hoping for the latter. I then recalled my shoes. I think I smelled too. In record time, we arrived at Kay's home. He ate up the sidewalk with his huge strides. I was forced to run to keep up with him. He had to be 4 or 5 inches or more tall than 6 feet. I quite about touched his shoulder.
Fate chose to pardon me. Her father was still away. Also, not was Jess. Using the spare key they kept buried in the gravel, I opened the rear door. When I went back to grab Kay, he had already gone inside. I opened the door for him before leading the way upstairs to her room. She was left on the bed by him. I removed her shoes and wrapped a blanket around her. Cassie Jane Bishop. Come on, we'll walk you home. After turning, he moved for the exit. I fixed my gaze on him. He was who? When I descended, I discovered him waiting at the rear entrance.
He had seen me take the key, so how could I have known he wouldn't return? I then locked the door and put it in my pocket. We began moving up the path toward my own, more modestly sized, smaller home. We were walking and he asked me, "Why weren't you drinking?" "You were present at the party?" I gasped and glanced up. He gave a nod. "Yeah, I saw you and drunk girl come, but I didn't see you consume any alcohol throughout the evening. The answer is no, I don't drink." I also didn't. I had seen what it had done to my father. Everyone, including me, was sufficiently discouraged from ever wanting to handle the substance after witnessing that train crash. Except when he drank, my father was wonderful. Then the significance of his request became apparent. How did he find out I didn't consume any alcohol? Had he kept an eye on me? I noticed my mouth drying as I obliquely peered at him. The way his abs were gripped by his tight green t-shirt was obscene.
After a little pause, he added, "Interesting." Interesting? That was confusing. Did he think I was like Kay and often drank myself into a stupor? I pleaded in my head, "Please don't think I'm that much of an idiot. Why on earth did I even give a damn what he thought?" It wasn't like he had any sort of romantic interest in me. Was he? Did I want him to be curious? Oh, you can bet your bottom I did. My best friend Michaela Martin often caught the attention of guys first. But I didn't find it annoying. I believed in myself just as much as she did. Anybody I wanted, I always got. I was similar to Kay in a lot of ways. However, we also contrasted sharply with a pair of Payless stilettos and a pair of Gucci heels.
She had onyx-colored hair that shone like black fire and was tall. Her eyes, which were constantly vibrant, sparkled like a cat's hazel eyes. Her olive skin gave her an unusual appearance. Guys jumped up and down for the chance to grin. I was a little bit of a different tale for me now. I had the fire that comes naturally to a redhead with Irish background, despite being small and diminutive. My hair glistened. The color wasn't auburn or even that hideous orange hue some redheads ended up with. My hair, on the other hand, was as red as a Coca-Cola can. Similar to Kay, my golden brown eyes gleamed with assurance. I was just as likely as she was to draw attention. I was aware of it. Our personalities also differed greatly. Kay had this crazy drive to command attention. She truly was a power of nature. Usually, I was happy to be the stylish sidekick with the badass shoes. As long as I received the person's attention I wanted.
I didn't need to pay attention to everyone yelling for it, like the boy who was strolling next to me. And I'd want to have him, maybe. One challenge could be the smell. Kay was definitely going to get it tomorrow.
My sister's visage briefly flickered in front of my eyes when I thought about her. If only she could now look at me. As we approached the old yellow Victorian house, I informed him, "This is my house," and I knew she'd be giggling uncontrollably. Even though it was a little worn out, I still adored it. He halted beneath the porch light after following me up the steps. "I appreciate you taking me home." I looked up when he remained silent and noticed that he was looking at me. His lips twitched with a grin. Dimples. He was chubby. He did consider Kay as potential girlfriend material then. Of course he would be concerned about her constant intoxication. Heaved a frustrated sigh. This may be a challenge. I've actually loathed my best buddy on occasion. Despite my annoyance, I lied and said no, using my BBF talents. Kay was a heavy drinker. I used journaling to deal with issues at home. She turned to alcohol as a coping mechanism. I scowled as an idea crossed my mind.
"You followed us, what? Do you think that was a little stalker-like?" He smiled. My knees became like butter. "Yeah, that's why I chose to stick with you and just assist you when necessary. You're a speck of fluffy stuff. I'm amazed you didn't get bowled over by the Amazon before you entered the lane." "You're rude," she said. Why did he feel the need to mention my lack of height? His grin got bigger. And Kay doesn't always behave in that manner. He chuckled. "You're a faithful little creature, aren't you? A little matter? My one beef with my looks, yet another comment about my stature. It annoyed me. I might not have wanted him after all." His grin made his eyes glitter. He was deliberately making me angry. I call her my friend. A little matter. My one beef with my looks, yet another comment about my stature.